Hello and welcome to the second edition of our new series, Planted Unearthed. Over the course of the next few weeks, we'll explore how design, sustainability, food and nature can combine to create cleaner, greener, better looking urban spaces. We'll look in depth at how we can reconnect with nature by speaking to some of the most innovative and respected thinkers in this field. Today we speak to an award-winning architect, chief exec of eponymous food brand River Cottage and founding partner of Planted, Stewart Dodd. Stewart, welcome to Planted Unearthed.
Good afternoon, Sam. Good to see you. Nice backdrop you've got there.
Thank you. All styled by Deb, so I can assure you, but you probably guessed that. Stewart, on a personal level, how's the lockdown been for you? How are you getting on down there?
Well, as you're probably aware, Devon's a very beautiful county, and River Cottage has an amazing farm. We have 100 acres and a beautiful old house and incredible gardens. So every day I spend some time at River Cottage HQ, and I'm having a rather wonderful time, to be a weird thing to say, I suppose, in this situation, but it's been pretty good on that level. Business-wise, obviously we're in a different situation, but personally I'm feeling pretty good actually, and it's been a fantastic spring. Weather-wise, it's beautiful.
It's a really sort of strange paradox that in a way, isn't it? That some people, obviously, we've got this trauma going on and we've got this sadness around the country in so many ways and difficulty with people, with the economy, people's jobs, but people finding ways to reconnect with the natural world and slow down a bit and just spend time at home. There are some positives coming out of it, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I watch a lot of social media on things like people baking more and, gardening more, and I'm doing much of that as well myself. Generally I don't have the time. I obviously work for a hospitality, food and a campaigning business, but ultimately I don't have that much time to cook. I eat out a lot, but I've done a lot of bread making, a lot of kombucha brewing, so in my hand at the moment, and a lot of gardening now. I'm growing got a big herb garden in my back garden now, so that's quite exciting. And also I've been working with the head gardener at social distance, obviously, at River Cottage. He's still gainfully employed planting a lot, and I've been learning a lot from him on how to plant in the garden and how to grow from seeds rather than buying seedlings and things. It's been really, on that level, it's been quite positive.
So you're pretty much going to have all the skills of everyone in the business when everything comes back to normal then?
Yeah, well, I've done a lot of KPing, kitchen portering, or as George Orwell called it, the chef de plongeur.
Yes.
And in his book Down and Out in Paris and London, and never again will I put up with a KP telling me how hard his job is, because ultimately it isn't particularly difficult, but it's definitely not that much fun, but there's no stress in it compared to my job, I can tell you.
So I mean, big picture stuff, Stuart. It's obviously great to hear that you're getting your hands dirty in the kitchen and in the garden, but I mean, big picture, I mean, this lockdown must have had an absolutely seismic impact on River Cottage.
Yeah, completely, Sam. We're a business that does everything from cookery courses to product development for our own products. We run a farm. We've got a series of restaurants around the country, and the whole thing's just closed. We closed on the 17th and 18th of March, different venues, all our restaurants. We furloughed 143 out of our 151 employees. So it's a complete seismic change to our business, as you say. I mean, nothing's the same as it was. There are 8 of us gainfully employed, 1 person effectively in each department, and we together are now the River Cottage team, and we are fostering a plan for the future. Not that we know when that future can actually start, but we are fostering a plan, and the rest of the business is basically furloughed, shuttered up, all the restaurants, and it's a massive shift. We have got some great initiatives running, which I'll talk to you about in a minute, but ultimately, the business as it exists traditionally is effectively closed.
I'd definitely like to hear about what those initiatives are, Stuart, but I mean, I've been down to River Cottage a few times now, had the pleasure of looking around that wonderful land that you've got down there, and the buildings have been so beautifully renovated and really feel like River Cottage in the outdoor space. I mean, must be very different though without people around there. I mean, people bring everything to life. It goes without saying, doesn't it? Must be a very different feeling when there's just 8 of you there.
Yeah, I mean, and ultimately we're not there either. You know, there's the only person there is me, and sometimes 2 days a week the head chef. The rest of the time, I mean, the other employees are all working from home. So it's very empty, you know, the nature's coming back. So lots of deer on the site, seen quite a lot of badgers, a lot of buzzards, kestrels. So the farm's really going back to nature. But the business as a whole, as you say, is a people business, and we lack people at the moment. So it's changed. The initiatives we're running are quite exciting. You know, we've done Friday night supper club to give people some sort of opportunity to buy River Cottage food. So we've done an opportunity where you can come to the farm and collect it every Friday night. We thought we'd start on a fairly small scale, but it's ramped up now. So we're doing 150 meals every Friday evening, or
Wow.
collection during the day. Organic, traditional River Cottage food, pretty exquisite stuff. I eat it myself every Friday. People come and collect it. And the really nice thing is we're working with Half, which is a charity in the local town of Axminster who effectively help people in need. And for every supper we sell to the public, we donate one to Half. So Hugh actually delivered this morning 87 meals to the charity in Axminster, and it's on their social media site today, actually. So that's a really nice initiative. The other initiative is we're working with one of our partners called Coombe Farm Organic, who are our meat provider. Well, they're not buying any meat. We're not buying any meat from them at the moment because, you know, we don't have the restaurants open. So what we've done is we've said to them, well, we have so much veg in our garden. It's been planted for a very heavy season, and it's been very sunny, and then we've had quite a lot of rain in the last week. So the produce has taken off in a crazy way. So rather than putting any of it to waste, we're selling it to Coombe Farm, and they're actually selling it on to their customer base.
Oh,
so that's really nice. So you can buy a River Cottage produce box through Coombe Farm, or you can buy a River Cottage supper club for a Friday evening from us directly. And they're really, you know, they're nice initiatives. They don't necessarily pay the bills income-wise, but they keep the little bit ticking over in the bank account. So that's quite good. And it's good to keep the 8 of us employed. So we've all been mucking in with different things. So Gelf, our head chef's been doing the cooking. I've been helping peel carrots and pick in the garden, and our ops director's been doing the same. Some of us doing the dishes different days. It's, you know, it's been quite fun. We're never there at the same time, so it's sort of a bit weird. You go and do your shift in the kitchen for 4 hours alone. But apart from that, it's been really exciting, you know, to deliver these things.
We've certainly spoken at Planted about the importance of collaboration during this time where, you know, normal business as we know it has had to stop. And as we're all aware, we're not quite sure what the new world, what the new normal will look like. But there are some really lovely collaborations going on, mutual support, isn't there, going on around and about the place. And that's really important, I guess, in the longer term, because people will remember how people behave during this situation, won't they?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, the collaborations with our suppliers are our most crucial thing at River Cottage. You know, River Cottage is based, it is a farm, but we're not self-sustaining. You know, we don't have fish on our farm. We don't rear all of our meat. We don't grow all of our vegetables. So we work with local partners. They all need to be organic. So we've always fostered relationships. Lots of these businesses are small scale businesses owned by individuals, and they've been built on the back of River Cottage, which, you know, as you know, you've been there yourself, it attracts 20 to 30,000 people a year. So we're feeding a lot of people. So small local businesses like Trill Farm, who provide all our leaves for salads and herbs, Hay Farm that provide us a lot of brassicas and meat. You know, all of these businesses, you know, they'll struggle if we're not there to buy all that produce at the end of the day. Coombe Farm Organic, who we're doing our veg box, the same. You know, we're their biggest customer. So it's very important for us to continue to work with these people. And, beyond that, I think there's a certain neighborliness which is coming out. People are talking more and saying hello to each other more.
Definitely.
That whole community spirit seems to be much more prevalent now. I know we're not in London and, we're in the countryside, but still you feel it more than ever, I think, which is a very positive thing to come out of this. People seem to be more respectful of one another, which is very nice. And I think after we come out of this, I think the community will appreciate the fact that we're connected to them more, and it'll be better for us as a business in the long term, ultimately.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, your brand, River Cottage, Stewart, it's a brand I've always loved and admired, but it's obviously got a wide audience now, but it's always been synonymous with locally sourced produce, fresh produce, sustainable farming methods and production methods. So how much more relevant and important are these going to become in the future, do you believe?
Well, I hope even more so. Our whole, the acronym we stole from the slow food movement years ago is seasonal, local, organic, and wild. And, that touches everything from foraging, which I've noticed lots of people are now foraging more, organic, which is our USP that we stick to. We believe that the organic certification is the only one that really demonstrates that the produce hasn't been treated with pesticides or hasn't had a certain chemical fertilizers to them. The local, as I just said, or working with the local producers, and then working with the seasons. At the moment, there are amazing things in the garden. We've got small turnips in there. We've got beetroot coming to life, got more salad leaves than you can imagine. Give us a few months' time and we'll have a whole different season of food. And, that's something that's crucial. I think as a nation, we're so used to buying tomatoes every month of the year. We're so used to buying brassicas in the summer when in reality they should only be there in the winter. We're just coming out of, the sort of the food gap, or can't come out with a quite right term for it, but, there's an area of sort of February to end of April, early May, where there's a very sort of difficult patch where there's not much coming out of the ground. And, we're really now coming into a full season, and River Cottage has always tried to follow that with its recipes. So I think, and it just proves, if you've got your own garden, you can't grow tomatoes in an English winter. It's not viable at the end of the day. So I hope it becomes even more valid as an idea. We've always followed it, but, we're a small part of the economy, I think. And people need to understand that they can grow their own vegetables in a very small veg patch, but it will be a seasonal, rotational process. And, they can, if they follow that process, they'll get really nice food for the 12 months of the year.
I mean, certainly something we've been doing here, growing more tomatoes, more vegetables. It's really fascinating time to learn and experience those seasonal fluctuations. And clearly, lots of people are tapping into nature in that way. So it's really, really interesting. I mean, in terms of as a business leader, I mean, how do you actually envisage that world of food production and consumption changing as a result of this pandemic? And I mean, I'm talking about supply chains and that side of the business world.
Yeah, I mean, it is a challenge. The supply chain's always a challenge. I think the large supermarkets definitely put a lot of pressure on producers. We work, as you probably know, we create a few of our own products these days from River Cottage beer. It's called Stinger. We work with Stroud Brewery, organic brewery. We're making a few ciders. We have yogurt. We're making kombucha with a company called Equinox. And the supply chains, the power of the supermarket in relation to the supply chain is very restrictive to these small producers. And so for us, we've always tried to work with them. But sometimes it really gets, we get into difficult situations where they're forced to sell a lot of their produce to these major supermarkets. I'm hoping that, more people will create farm shops, more local selling will occur. That'll open up the supply chain to more opportunities. If you're a local restaurant, there's nothing better than going to your local grower and buying the produce from him than having to get it shipped in by one of the national suppliers like Brakes or Arthur David or somebody like that. It'd be great if you could work with local producers, and you would hope that local economy, there's the village economy, the Schumacher way of thinking. is a great opportunity. You know, if we come out of this, we don't really need to fly our tomatoes in from the other side of the globe all year round. I think, you know, if we followed the seasons a bit more, we'd probably be a bit more self-sustaining ultimately. But you know, the implication is always cost, and one would hope that if more people are producing in the UK, then the cost will go down. Ultimately, it's not going to be that premium cost for buying local, where you could buy, you know, a kilo of tomatoes for £1.75 that are flown in from Israel or somewhere like that. So, you know, I'm hoping there'll be a bigger amount, there'll be more produce available going forward. And also, you know, people are not going to want to travel as much after this. So, you know, the local economy will, one would hope, benefit. I mean, you know, you would imagine that Wiltshire, Devon, Dorset, you know, all these places where you are and where I am, will actually get a bigger, you know, tourist economy going forward, because, you know, people won't really feel the need to get on an airplane to jet off somewhere tomorrow. So you know, there could be some long-term benefits to come out of it, to be honest.
Yeah, people might not be allowed to get on planes. Who knows where we're going to be.
Or you'll end up in quarantine for 14 days before you go on your holiday.
Yeah, so who knows? But I mean, all those things make so much sense, and you know, let's obviously all make an effort to support local production. It just makes so much sense on so many levels, doesn't it? And certainly something that Planted stands for sure. Stuart, just, you know, conscious of your time, conscious you're juggling a lot of things at the moment, but I mean, just finally, you touched on starter, you know, ideas of how the hospitality industry might change, indeed how River Cottage might change in the future. Are you able to share any of those things? I mean, how do you envisage, what do you see the future for River Cottage being? And secondary to that, are you confident that you'll come back stronger as a result of this?
Yeah, I think it's inevitable. The business will change. You know, I'm not certain how one runs a series of restaurants that we have going forward. I mean, we have 3 of our own and 3 franchise restaurants, and you know, that's going to be a real challenge going forward. I don't know how one can make those work. I mean, I was listening to a live stream the other day between Jason Atherton, Michelle Roux Jr. and Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall, talking about the future of restaurants in the high street. And both Jason and Michelle were saying, you know, how does one run a high-end fine dining restaurant going forward? You know, they were both, Michelle and Jason were saying, you need an 80% occupancy to make those restaurants break even, because the cost of delivery is so high. And if you have to run a restaurant at 50% occupancy, I mean, they're not going to be able to open the door. Our restaurants are a little bit more low key than that, so they're more mid-range. But again, you know, we have restaurants with 140 covers. We have to run them at 50% occupancy to adapt to social distancing. You know, we're going to have challenges there. The benefits we have are our farm. Obviously, we've got 100 acres. I've got a lot of initiatives set in place. You know, we've got an office of 28 people, and in my brain, I'm thinking, we've just proven to ourselves we don't need to be in that office anymore. All of those people capable of working from home. You know, we could actually convert that office to a visitor center, or you know, we could have a farm shop that we've never had. We could have a cafe selling all the produce that comes out of our cookery school. You know, there are great opportunities at the farm. Also gets me the opportunity to touch on architecture a little bit, which is what I've done for a long time, but haven't, you know, designed much in the last sort of 2 years since I've been running River Cottage. So it'd be quite nice to get my pencils out again and draw something to make some quite cool building at the entrance. So that's one initiative. We're thinking about how we might do dining events. Traditionally, we did them in our old threshing barn, but we have a lot of areas across the site that one could dine in groups. So families, households could come, people who are, you know, together. We've got a great opportunity to put them into special places, maybe 6 or 7 locations across the site for 4, 6, 12 people, where they each have a chef who's feeding them. You know, there's some quite exquisite opportunities on the farm. So I think initiatives like that will definitely come to the fore very, very quickly when we're allowed to open. But as you know, at the moment, our great leader hasn't suggested when we may open. He's suggested maybe hospitality could come back in some form in July, but as yet, we've had no details. So I've got lots of initiatives ready, you know, simmering away, but as yet I can't really start any of them, but we're ready. When we're going to have to move at a quick pace. That's the most important thing.
Well, we're all in the same boat there, Stuart. But listen, it's been fantastic to speak to you. It's always great listening to your thoughts and on this subject. You're clearly a great thinker in this space, and I've got no doubt River Cottage will come back stronger. It's a brand we really want to support and a business we really want to support, and it's definitely one of the places in the UK I'm most looking forward to getting back to. It's a little slice of heaven you've got down there, but you know that better than I do. So, Stuart, great to speak to you. Look forward to seeing you properly face to face in future, and all the best with everything you're doing down there.
Yeah, thanks very much, Sam, and I look forward to you coming to the farm.
Take care. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.